I'm not. I'm not what you think.
My husband is inadequate in every way, financially, emotionally, and intimately. Those were the words Amanda spoke in a packed courtroom, her voice clear and shameless, as she publicly destroyed the man who'd spent 12 years loving her. She had no idea that in less than 30 minutes, those same words would cost her everything she'd ever wanted. And the quiet librarian sitting across from her. He was about to become the richest man she'd never have. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping story of betrayal and brutal justice, let me ask you something. What would you do if your partner humiliated you in front of hundreds of people, mocking your most private moments? Would you fight back or stay silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because what Robert did will restore your faith that silence can be the loudest response. If you love stories where karma hits hard and justice is served cold, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when this woman realizes the massive mistake she just made. Robert and Amanda's story started 15 years ago at the City Library. She was a college student researching a paper. He was the quiet librarian who helped her find the perfect books. They talked for hours that first day. Coffee turned into dates. Dates turned into love. Or at least that's what Robert thought. He came from old money, the kind nobody talks about. His grandfather founded Mitchell Pharmaceuticals back in 1952, built it from a small lab into a billion-dollar empire. When Grandpa died, he left 18% of the company's stock to Robert. But there was a catch. Robert couldn't touch it until he turned 30. By then, Robert and Amanda were already married. He'd just inherited stock worth $890 million. But Robert never told her the full truth. He lived on his librarian salary of $43,000 a year, drove a 10-year-old sedan, shopped at discount stores. Why? Because his grandfather's last words stuck with him. Real character shows when nobody's watching. Live humble, give generous, stay quiet. So Robert worked at the library he loved, read to kids on Saturdays, helped elderly people learn computers, and secretly donated millions to literacy programs, children's charities, and scholarships. All anonymous, all from the heart. Amanda saw none of this. She saw a librarian who made barely enough to pay bills, a husband who wore the same clothes for years, a man who she thought couldn't provide the life she deserved. That's when Derek walked into the picture. Pharmaceutical sales rep. Nice car, expensive suits, smooth talker. He worked for Bennett Pharma, a competitor to Robert's family company. Made $87,000 a year and spent every penny trying to look rich. Amanda fell for the image. Started meeting Derek for lunch, then dinner, then hotel rooms. For 2 years, she lived a double life while Robert came home every night with library books and a smile. But what happened next would change everything. Have you ever trusted someone completely, given them everything you had, only to watch them throw it away? Share your story in the comments, because what Amanda did next crossed a line most people couldn't even imagine. Amanda filed for divorce on a Tuesday morning, didn't tell Robert in person, just had a process server deliver papers to the library where he worked. In front of kids, in front of parents, in front of everyone who knew him. The papers cited irreconcilable differences and emotional neglect. Her lawyer was aggressive. Demanded half of everything, assumed Robert had maybe $100,000 in savings at most. The strategy was simple. Humiliate him, break him, take what little he had. The court date arrived on a cold November morning. The gallery was packed. Amanda brought Derek with her, sat him in the front row like a trophy. She wore a designer dress that cost more than Robert made in a month. Her confidence filled the room like expensive perfume. Robert sat quietly at his table. Same old suit he'd worn to their wedding. Same gentle expression. His lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia, watched Amanda with the focus of a hawk watching prey. The judge, a 60-year-old woman named Henderson, had seen it all. But what she was about to hear would shock even her. Amanda took the stand. The judge asked why she wanted the divorce. And that's when Amanda decided to go nuclear. "Your Honor, I need you to understand why I'm leaving," Amanda said, her voice steady. "My husband Robert is inadequate in every way. Financially, emotionally, and intimately." The courtroom went silent. You could hear people shift in their seats. She kept going. "Derek makes me feel alive. Robert made me feel dead inside for 12 years. Derek satisfies needs Robert didn't even know existed. Robert's face showed nothing. He sat perfectly still, hands folded. Amanda's testimony got worse. I used to fake everything with Robert. Everything. With Derek, I don't have to fake anything. That's worth more than whatever tiny assets we're splitting today. Derek, sitting in the gallery, actually smirked, nodded along like he was proud. The judge looked physically uncomfortable. Mrs. Mitchell, is this testimony necessary? Yes, Your Honor. The court needs to understand what I endured. Little did Amanda know she'd just set up her own destruction in the most public way possible. Robert's lawyer stood. Patricia Chen had been waiting for this moment. She'd told Robert to stay quiet. Let Amanda talk. Let her reveal exactly who she was. And boy, did she deliver. Your Honor, Patricia said calmly, I have documents that will provide important context to Mrs. Mitchell's testimony. She handed a folder to the judge, another to Amanda's lawyer. The third she kept. The judge opened the file. Her eyes went wide. She looked at Robert, then at Amanda, then back at the documents. Mr. Mitchell, the judge said slowly, these financial disclosures are quite extensive. This story is about to take a turn that will leave you speechless. Stay with me because what the judge reveals next will change everything. If you're hooked on this story, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because what happens next proves that karma doesn't forget and the truth always comes out. The judge continued reading. According to these documents, Mr. Mitchell, you inherited stock in Mitchell Pharmaceuticals when you turned 30. Yes, Your Honor, Robert said quietly. His first words in the entire proceeding, and that was during your 4th year of marriage to Mrs. Mitchell. Yes, Your Honor. Amanda leaned forward. Finally, some actual assets to split. The judge looked directly at Amanda. Mrs. Mitchell, are you aware of the value of your husband's inherited stock? Amanda's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, we estimate based on his librarian salary that any inheritance was minimal. Minimal, the judge repeated, a strange tone in her voice. She looked at the papers again. The current value of Mr. Mitchell's 18% stake in Mitchell Pharmaceuticals is $890 million. The courtroom exploded, gasps, whispers. Someone dropped their phone. Amanda's face went white. What did you say? $890 million, the judge repeated clearly. That's the current stock value. The annual dividend income from those shares is approximately $47 million per year. Derek in the gallery stood up. His face had gone from smug to horrified. He started moving toward the door, but the judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, she continued, Mr. Mitchell has been using his dividend income for extensive charitable work. $2.3 million annually to the city library system. $890,000 to children's literacy programs. $1.2 million to scholarship funds for underprivileged students, all donated anonymously. Amanda tried to speak, but no words came out. Then the hammer fell. Mrs. Mitchell, I see here that you signed a prenuptial agreement before your marriage. Amanda's lawyer looked confused. Your Honor, we have no record of any prenuptial agreement. Patricia stood. If I may, Your Honor. The prenup was signed at the courthouse wedding 15 years ago. Mrs. Mitchell signed it. It was properly notarized and filed. She handed over another document. The judge examined it. Mrs. Mitchell, do you remember signing this? Amanda's voice was barely a whisper. We got married at the courthouse. I had been drinking. I thought it was just the marriage license. This prenuptial agreement, the judge read, clearly states that any inheritance received by either party remains separate property and is not subject to division in the event of divorce. Just when Amanda thought it couldn't get worse, it did. The judge looked at Derek, who was trying to quietly slip out the back of the courtroom. Sir, please remain seated. Are you Derek Harrison? Derek froze. Yes, ma'am. You're employed by Bennett Pharmaceuticals? Yes, Your Honor. Your base salary is $87,000 annually? Derek's face turned red. Yes. The judge turned back to Amanda. So let me understand this correctly, Mrs. Mitchell. You publicly humiliated a man who donated millions to charity, a man who inherited nearly $1 billion, but chose to work at a library for $43,000 a year because he loved helping people. You did this for a pharmaceutical sales representative who works for a competitor to your husband's family company and makes $87,000 a year. The courtroom was dead silent. Based on the prenuptial agreement, which is valid and binding, I am awarding Mrs. Mitchell $0 in this divorce. The marriage is dissolved. Mr. Mitchell retains all separate property, as defined in the prenuptial agreement. The gavel came down. Amanda sat frozen. Then she stood and rushed toward Derek, who was already at the courtroom doors. People in the gallery later reported what they heard in the hallway. Amanda's voice desperate. "Derek, wait. We can still make this work." Derek's response loud enough for the bailiffs to hear. "Are you insane? You're toxic and you're broke. I'm not risking my career for you. Lose my number." He walked out. Left her standing there in her designer dress with absolutely nothing. "Before I tell you what happened after this, let me ask you something. If you were Robert, would you have given her a second chance? Or would you have done exactly what he did? Drop your answer in the comments. Amanda tried everything in the weeks that followed. She called Robert's number. Blocked. She went to the library where he worked. Security asked her to leave. She hired a new lawyer to challenge the prenup. Case dismissed within a week. Her friends, the ones who'd supported her affair, slowly disappeared. Nobody wants to be associated with the woman who publicly humiliated a secret billionaire. Derek, he got fired from Bennett Pharmaceuticals 3 months later. Turns out, Robert donated $50 million to pharmaceutical research in his grandfather's name the day after the divorce was finalized. The donation made news. Bennett Pharma didn't want to employ the man who'd been sleeping with the donor's ex-wife. Bad optics. Amanda's lawyer tried one more move. Claimed Robert was flaunting his wealth by making the large donation so soon after the divorce. Accused him of trying to hurt Amanda. The judge dismissed it with one sentence. A man donating to medical research in his late grandfather's name is not flaunting wealth. It's called honoring family and helping humanity. Motion denied. Amanda eventually found work at a different library, making $34,000 a year. Saw Robert's photo in the newspaper 6 months later. He was at a children's literacy event. Next to him was a beautiful woman with kind eyes, a children's book author he'd met at the library. They got married a year later, quiet ceremony. Robert kept working at the library he loved. They have 3 kids now. Every night Robert reads to them, using books his wife writes. The family that Derek thought wasn't good enough built a life full of love, purpose, and genuine wealth. Here's what this story teaches us. Real wealth isn't about what you show. It's about what you do when nobody's watching. Amanda saw a librarian and assumed poverty. She never asked about his character, his heart, his choices. She measured him by his salary and found him lacking. But the man she called inadequate was spending millions to help kids read, to fund education, to change lives, while she was chasing designer labels and fake status with a sales rep who couldn't even afford his car payments. Robert was living with purpose. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't screaming or fighting. It's living well, building something real, staying true to who you are even when people misunderstand you. Robert didn't destroy Amanda. She destroyed herself. Every cruel word she spoke in that courtroom was a nail in her own coffin. And the man she thought was beneath her. He just kept reading to kids, donating to charity, and living the kind of life money can't buy. What do you think about this story? Was Robert right to stay silent and let the truth speak for itself? Or should he have revealed his wealth earlier to save the marriage? Drop your honest opinion in the comments below. If this story of justice and karma resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss stories like this. These real-life tales of revenge, justice, and karma remind us that what goes around really does come around. Thanks for watching, and remember, treat people well. You never know who you're really dealing with. I'll see you in the next one.